1979 was a deadly year in Altoona, PA. A small crew operating under the LaRocca Mafia family of Pittsburgh, PA, decided to clamp down on loose ends within their organization. On January 23rd of that year, John Clark's body would be found burning in a car in an isolated section of Cambria County. He was killed with an axe. On November 26th, a hunter would find Dennis Hileman's body floating in the Tipton Reservoir. Hileman was bound with chains attached to cinder blocks, and it was determined that he was stabbed multiple times in the head and the chest. The next day, hunters would find the body of Francis Misitano in game lands just northwest of Altoona with a single gunshot to his head. A month later, approximately 3 miles south of where Misitano's body was found, crew associate Preston Ryan would shoot a man in the Buckhorn Inn in front of a packed bar of people watching a band play. Misitano's murder was the only case unsolved, but I have a few theories. In this episode, I explored the history of John Varilla's crew and his predecessor in Altoona, visiting key locations as I explore the rise and fall of this organized crime group that controlled the city from the 1950s and the 1990s, maybe still do today. So I'm looking for Jay's bar.
Consider it to be his bar, meaning Jay's bar.
The four main characters in the story are John Varilla, John Caramadre, Vincent Caracciola, and Alfred Corbo. Mike Trafficanti also lived in Altoona, but according to sources in the 80s, he was allegedly in charge of Indiana County operations. It appears that Varilla and Trafficanti might have been equivalent since they are both mentioned as LaRocca family soldiers who could take over as underboss after Joseph Pecora died in 1987. But Varilla officially had control of Altoona after underboss Gabriel Kelly Manorino gave him that control in the 1950s. John Caramadre was the oldest, born in 1921. John Varilla was born in 1925, Alfred Corbo in 1930, and Vincent Caracciola was the youngest, born in 1935. It makes me wonder if their ages were considered when they were assigned their roles in 1976. Varilla being the boss, Caramadre the counselor, since he was the oldest, and Caracciola the enforcer. But Alfred Corbo operated independently from the rest of the family. In fact, at one point, Varilla considered taking action against Corbo since his gambling operations were competing with his. LaRocca ended up contacting Varilla and telling him to stay away from Corbo because of the amount of money that Corbo was bringing in with his gambling operations. Corbo had enough to deal with considering the regular raids on his home and businesses by police. Caramadre and Varilla both served in World War II, Caramadre being a corporal with the 36th Division and Varilla being a seaman with the Merchant Marines. Corbo served in the Korean War. Caracciola was raised in Altoona. A 1947 newspaper article shows Caracciola's class assignment at Roosevelt Junior High School, which would have been right here where I'm standing. 2 years later, in 1949, Alfred Corbo would graduate Altoona High School, the new high school standing just behind me here. A 1954 article shows Vincent Caracciola as the track team manager. That same year, he would graduate as one of 598 at the Jaffa Mosque. Even though Varilla was given control of Altoona in the 1950s, he fell into bad health. His power was diminished. But in 1976, he was feeling much better. So he decided to try to take that control back. So him, Caramadre, and Caracciola met at Caramadre's apartment here for a 7-hour marathon session, reestablishing a plan for them to get back into control of Altoona. During this meeting, they decided that Varilla would be the boss, Caramadre would be the counselor, and Caracciola would be the enforcer. Varilla referred to the crew as the family. The book Steel City Mafia mentions that Varilla and Caracciola went into partnership with the 6th Avenue Grill. Looking at old newspapers, I think this here would have been the 6th Avenue Grill. The book indicates that they went into partnership as early as 1957, which means Caracciola would have been 22 years old. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure that that is the location of the 6th Avenue Grill. If anybody knows, please leave a comment. But I don't think that address exists anymore. In 1978, Varilla would learn that a man named Joseph McDermott was running his own gambling operation out of the Roundhouse Inn in Juniata. He would tell Caracciola to cut at least one of his fingers off to send a symbol to the others to keep their hands out of their pockets. So Caracciolo and John Clark would then kidnap McDermott, cut at least one of his fingers off. And Caracciolo allegedly brought that back to their headquarters, which was located at Jay's Bar. The newspaper article for this indicates that Jay's Bar was located on 15th Street near 13th Avenue. That would put it right around here somewhere. But I found a comment on an Altoona History Facebook page, probably like 12 years ago. The guy asked if he knew
Stop, okay?
which one, the one over there or the one over here?
This here across the street and on the corner across from the barber shop.
Okay.
Okay. Now the Knights of Columbus, which is historical.
Yeah. What's your name?
My name's Carrie.
Carrie, I'm Barry.
Hi, Barry.
So I'm looking for Jay's Bar. How long have you lived in Altoona here?
I've lived in Altoona all my life, and I'm 56 years old.
Oh, okay. So where do you think Jay's Bar would have been located in this area?
Okay, to have history with the bar coming,
Yeah.
I didn't know a Jay's.
Okay.
No, I know up 16th Street, there was a place called Habs.
Okay.
Okay, and that was a little bar for the neighborhood, just
Right.
like how there's Mike's Court.
But you said there might have been something down here in the alley? Was it
Yes.
on this side of the alley?
It would have been across the street.
Okay.
This is your street, which
Yeah.
is 16th Street. This is 12th. This
Okay.
way. Okay, so this street here had the White House Inn.
Where was that at?
Okay, it was, okay, there along 16th Street at the light at intersection, there's a puppy grooming shop.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
right beside there,
Okay.
which has the vines.
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
It used, you can still see the front office part, because then it became other things in the family.
That was
though.
the
It's
White
always
House
been in
Inn,
the
though?
family. Yes, it was
Okay.
the White House
All right.
Inn.
So maybe that could be it.
And this family had came from Greece.
Okay.
Okay, they're Greek.
So I'm specifically I'm researching the Mafia, that they had a headquarters here and back in the 70s and the 80s.
Yes, I'm telling you right
But
now.
they're saying it was called Jay's Bar and it was somewhere.
Okay, no, don't get me wrong. That could have been one of the men's nicknames.
Yeah,
that could
right.
have been a nickname.
Exactly.
And they consider it to be his bar, meaning Jay's bar.
Exactly.
I know. I will
Yeah.
check into this. I'll tell you, because Ted, which is passed, and now Helen just passed too. So now they had a monopoly of homes. They had these two homes here, and then there was just homes all down that they're all
Also,
gone.
there was homes there, then
Yes,
there's four down there.
yeah.
Okay.
But the history would be also where this barber shop is.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a walk-in six-pack type.
So
When
in
I
the
knew
front
I
of
was
this
going-
building?
Yes. The only other place I would say, if any, with any history or anything that would be worth viewing for your followers would be Lombardo's.
Okay.
Okay. If you ever want to check into that.
Well, thank you.
Habs Bar. I mean,
I think
Bar.
that's too far away because they
that's
were
too
saying it
far
was
up.
like right in this block and Triangle was related
No, I
somehow.
know. They used
so.
to have the back room in at the White House, the back room in.
Okay,
It was,
wow.
you know, but it wasn't nothing wrong.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a little white collar crap,
Yeah.
you know. But they were my daddies.
Oh,
you know what I
okay.
mean?
Nice,
and
yeah.
grandpappies.
Oh, nice.
You know, so when I was riding in the station wagon, you know, like 65 station wagon.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
they just got done with the rail cars.
Great meeting you. Thank you for all
Yeah,
your
right, Barry.
assistance. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Yep, have a good weekend.
You too. That person commented on Facebook asking if anybody remembers Jay's Bar that was in the alley behind Triangle Barbershop. So Triangle Barbershop is right here on the left-hand side. So I don't see any indication that there would be a bar here, but over here's the Triangle Barbershop. So I don't know, unless this place here was a bar. Yeah, I don't know. I asked some other locals. They're not sure exactly where Jay's Bar would have been. But that's the Triangle over there. This is the Triangle Barbershop. This is the alley behind the Triangle. So I don't know if it's this building, one of these other buildings. But the newspaper specifically says it was on 15th Street near 13th Avenue. So yeah, this is 15th Street and that is 13th Avenue. Looks like a newer dentist was built here. So there could have been something on this side of the alley. Caracciolo actually brought one of those fingers back to Jay's bar here and showed it to Varilla. Varilla called him Little Al in reference to Al Capone. So Clark was along with Varilla when he cut off McDermott's fingers. Between 1978 and 1979, Varilla would cut off Clark. Clark decided that he was just going to sell the drugs on his own. So at some point, Clark threatened Varilla that if he didn't let him back into their drug scheme, he was going to tell the police about the McDermott kidnapping and mutilation. So on January 22nd, 1979, Varilla, Caramadre, and Caracciolo met here at their headquarters at Jay's bar. Varilla ordered that he kill Clark. So that night, Varilla and several other individuals convinced Clark to go with them to Mineral Point in Cambria County for an alleged payday. When they arrived at the location, the others held Clark down while Caracciolo struck him in the head with an axe. They then put him inside his own car. Somebody driving by that area found his body burning in that car the next day. Marvin Wax Wansley and Preston Ryan were along with them on that Clark hit. In April of that year, someone attempted to break into Caracciolo's apartment. It appears that he reported it because it's in the newspapers. Preston Ryan would get into a vehicle pursuit with state police out of Tyrone and would be arrested. In November of 1979, Dennis Hileman kept making frequent visits to Jay's bar, and he was starting to get on Varilla's nerves. One night he got on his nerves so bad that after he left, Varilla slammed his glasses down on the table and told Caracciolo, "Kill him." Caracciolo suspected that Hileman might have been the guy that tried to break into his house, and with this order from Varilla, he found Hileman, stabbed him several times in the head and the neck. He then contacted 18-year-old Scott Bruner and paid him to dispose of Hileman's body in the Tipton Reservoir. A hunter would find his body floating in that reservoir shortly afterwards. The next day, hunters would find the body of Francis Misitano in state game lands with a single shot to his head. A month later, 3 miles to the south of where Misitano's body was found, Preston Ryan would attend a band concert at the Buckhorn Inn. Some type of altercation broke out, and Preston Ryan ended up pulling out a gun and shooting it across the room. The bullet struck 20-year-old Harry Walters Jr. that had nothing to do with any of this. 22-year-old James Tyson would attempt to take that gun from Ryan, and he ended up getting shot in the arm. Ryan then fled the scene. State police located him at his mother's house near Philly the next day and arrested him. But Preston Ryan, being that close to where Misitano's body was found a month prior, carrying a handgun and shooting somebody, and we know that Ryan was familiar with the woods. He was part of that youth camp, that forestry youth camp as a kid. It just makes me wonder, did police ever find the handgun that Ryan used at the Buckhorn Inn? Did the calibers match up with the one that shot Misitano? Misitano's son actually contacted me on social media. Unfortunately, he would have been 4 years old when all this happened, so he couldn't give me much additional information. In December of 1980, Marvin Wax Wansley would get arrested by the police. He would actually agree to wear a wire for state police investigators. So Wansley ended up going back to Jay's bar down there and recording several conversations with Varilla, Caramadre, and Caracciolo. They were heard discussing the murder of an Altoona man, the burning of a restaurant, and the robbery of a doctor. Varilla could be heard threatening Wansley that if he talks, he will be killed. In April of 1982, Varilla and Caracciolo were charged with tampering with a grand jury witness. In January 1983, Caracciolo found out that Varilla threatened to kill his girlfriend. He then decided to turn state's witness. Caracciolo then testified that Varilla ordered the hit of Clark because he was going to tell police about the mutilation and kidnapping. Preston Ryan, who was already serving a sentence for his shooting of Walters, became state witness also and confessed to his involvement in the Clark killings. In 1984, Varilla, Caramadre, and Caracciolo were all sentenced to life for their involvements with the Clark and the Hileman murders. Scott Bruner was sentenced to 20 to 40 years in prison for disposing of Hileman's body in a Tipton reservoir. With Varilla gone, Corbo took over on all the family's operations in Altoona.